Good Tuesday afternoon. Thank you for hopping on NCSA Live. I'm David Kamisek, Senior Recruiting Manager with Next College Student Athlete. Thanks for tuning in here on this Tuesday afternoon. As we always do, we're going to hit on a specific topic within the recruiting process. We appreciate you tuning in, whether it's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, whatever social platform you're watching us on. And we certainly want any engagement from you guys. So any questions you have, whether it be about the topic we're specifically talking about or anything really in the recruiting process. We'll get to as many as we can here over the next half hour or so. Joining me is our recruiting manager, Kyle Winters. Kyle, good Tuesday afternoon. How are you?
Great Tuesday afternoon, David. I'm doing just fantastic. Life is good, or as they say in Scotland, "Fan Davi Dozy," as I've come to learn.
Yeah, that's a fan Davi doozy word right there for sure. So today's topic that we're going to kick off on is talking about emailing college coaches. So you're a student athlete, you're ready to start reaching out to schools, trying to get your name on college coaches' radar. So we're going to hit on figuring out, number one, who to email, how to catch a coach's attention, really what to include in the intro email that you're sending a college coach, and then what to do after you send that email with any follow-up. So I think first and foremost, I think what's really important to point out here is one of the great parts of the recruiting process is that a student athlete can take the initiative to email a college coach really at any point in their recruiting process. The misconception is it's got to wait until junior or senior year. That's not the case. A college coach can be getting emails from student athletes 8th grade, freshman year, sophomore year. So really that process can begin early. And Kyle, really the benefit or the advantage of doing this is I think a lot of families take kind of a sit back and wait and see what happens, see who reaches out to them approach in recruiting versus taking the initiative, really taking the bull by the horns and putting themselves out there for college coaches.
Yeah, not only can they be emailing college coaches, they should be emailing college coaches. For every sport out there, there are literally hundreds of thousands of high school athletes that are playing their sport. Probably a good portion of them, I don't know, I'll guess 70% of them want to play at the collegiate level. Tens of thousands of them are not going to go on to play at the collegiate level every year because coaches just never find them. So it's really incumbent on the student athletes and families to be the ones who are emailing these college coaches and trying to proactively get their information in front of them versus just hoping that these coaches happen to find out about them, which again, for so many student athletes, that isn't the case. So we can talk through how a student athlete goes about emailing college coaches. And there's the traditional way. There's a couple different ways. Option one, you can go to the school's website. We're going to walk you kind of through it here. Search them on Google, pull up their website, go to the website. Now we're trying to navigate their athletic department page. We're going to try to find our sport. We're going to be going into the sport. Now we're looking for the specific coaches. We're trying to figure out which coach we should email. We're trying to find now the specific coach's email address. We're clicking on them. Which one of these coaches am I going to write to? What should I write about? Is there contact information in here? It looks like it is. That's a long process. That's a lot to work through. If you're doing that through 50 to 60 different schools, it's going to be a lot versus using our NCSA Message Center, which is essentially you go into your NCSA profile, you type in a school, you type in a coach, it brings up the list of coaches for you, you click on it, you compose your email right there. So nothing wrong with going the old-fashioned way of just Googling college coaches, trying to email them directly through their website, but it's a lot more steps. And if you're trying to email and be proactively reaching out to dozens of college coaches, it just adds hours and hours to that time period of trying to get connected with them versus using our NCSA Message Center. So quick plug for that. But either way, it's about emailing those college coaches.
Yeah, the big advantage too of using the Message Center versus just using your email is that you're able to track what coaches opened that email. Maybe they viewed your profile, maybe they followed you. So it helps take away some of the guessing game where if I'm just randomly emailing coaches through my personal account, I have no idea if they opened that email. And again, depending on when you email a college coach, coaches, they're restricted or limited in terms of when and how they can respond to those emails. So again, as a student athlete, you have no restrictions. You can email any college coach, but the coaches do have restrictions and limitations in terms of how and again, when they can personally respond. For most sports, for most student athletes, it's really going to be the summer between sophomore and junior year when that really picks up for the coaches being able to respond back. So Kyle, we sort of touched on it, and I think it can range by division level too. Some Division I schools, as you saw there, they have 5, 6, 7 different coaches. You're trying to figure out who to email. If it's a football program in a Division I school, they have 15 coaches and 10 grad assistants and 6 student assistants. And so it's trying to figure out who to email, where the smaller schools, it's a little bit different because they'll have less coaches. They only have one or two coaches. So that also helps alleviate kind of that guessing game of who you should be reaching out to as well.
Yeah, for a bigger school, bigger program, you're going to want to find like a positions coach. If you're a defensive lineman, you're going to want to email the D-line coach. If you're a wide receiver, you're going to want to email the wide receiver coach at a big football program. Outside of that, you're probably going to want to stick to emailing the assistant coaches. My sister's a college coach, college softball coach. Just moved from a Division II program to a Division I program. She's going to be probably the primary means of contact for most of the recruits. She's going to be the one who's going out and identifying these recruits and then bringing them to the head coach as someone that, hey, this is someone that we should be taking a look at. So really depends on the program. At the end of the day, it's never a bad idea to email all the coaches, but would hate for your families to do more work and not get as much out of it. So start with the assistant coach, start with your position coach. If all else fails, you can email all the coaches. It's probably not going to be the end of the world if you do so. Just trying to get your information out there for those coaches. Just trying to get that on their radar.
Yeah, a lot of those big programs too. They have recruiting coordinators specifically that work with recruiting. Where again, I don't think you want to email Nick Saban. I don't think Nick Saban's gonna personally respond. That gets kind of moved up the food chain there. So Kyle, we get to the point where we know what schools we want to start to reach out to. We've got their contact information. Now the big question comes: what do I put in this email to a college coach? What should go into that introductory email? Again, because coaches are sometimes receiving hundreds, thousands of these a week. So what can I do to really make myself stand out by putting together this email?
Yeah, first and foremost, you need to catch the coach's eye. You can't just send an email to a coach that says recruit or college football or I like your program thousands of times from student athletes that just are very generic. You're going to want to stand out in some way, shape, or form in your subject line to that coach. So when we talk about putting in a student athlete's grad year, their position, their location, where they're coming from, any sort of key stat that stands out about you. If you're fast, you're a football player, put in your good 40 time. If you're a pitcher in baseball, put in that you throw 95 miles an hour if you throw really hard. If you have great grades and you're looking at academically high-level schools, put in your 4.0 GPA, your ACT, your SAT metrics. Just some of those things are going to catch the coach's eye to get them to open the email in the first place. From there, you're going to want to introduce yourself. You're going to want to personalize it. You don't want to send out a form email that looks like it was sent to 10,000 coaches, the exact same thing. Coaches aren't going to appreciate that. So they're going to want you to talk about why you're interested in their program and why you're a good fit for their program as well. So try to make it captivating. Try to make it something that's going to make that coach feel like they are actually receiving interest from you as a prospect. And the same way from your end, if you got just a form letter from a college coach, you probably wouldn't be as excited about it as you'd be about an email from a coach saying, hey, I saw you play at this game. You look great. You did well with this, and this, versus something saying, hey, you're a recruit and we have a camp coming up and come to our camp, something generic like that. So it goes both ways with that. And it's about showing that coach your genuine interest in their program.
Yeah, I think two things that are probably important to ideally have in that email that you send to college coaches, and again, why our message center can bias, but it is super helpful, is including your video and then also a transcript, right? College coaches, a lot of people look good on paper. A lot of people are going to sound great in an email, but coaches need to see you. They need to evaluate you. They need to see what you look like on game film. So again, if you have a video, include that in the email. And again, the great part about our message center, you can click a button and boom, your profile link gets attached to that email. So coaches have all of that information at the click of their fingers. But again, coaches are going to need to evaluate a video. So if you're just sending emails without video, it's not going to provide a whole lot of punch. But if you have your highlight video, your transcripts in there, and that's going to give coaches the information they need to really do a good evaluation of you to see if you're someone they want to continue to follow or reach back out to, or maybe invite out to a camp, send a questionnaire to, whatever that case might be. So we talked, Kyle, about including the information, the email, being personalized. Again, finding something about that program specific, maybe asking some questions within that email. So you send that first email out to a college coach. What do you do then? It is a bit of a waiting game. And again, depending on when you send that email, if it's freshman year, sophomore year, and it's a Division I or Division II program and they can't personally respond to you, what should that follow-up be? Should there be follow-up? How often should there follow-up be? What are your action steps after sending that initial email to a college coach?
Yeah, for the underclassmen, there's not a ton that you can do. It's a little bit of a waiting game to start getting responses from those college coaches, like David talked about, until for most sports between your sophomore and junior year. But again, that's the beauty of the NCSA profile and what we have set up here. You can be seeing whether or not that coach has opened your email. You can see if the coach has viewed your profile and is following your profile. So keeping tabs on those types of things. Sending a follow-up email, even if you're underclassmen, maybe a week later, sending another follow-up email, maybe a month after that, sending another follow-up email, just see if you can pique their interest, just see if you can get on their radar. You don't want to burn them out. So maybe 2 to 3 emails is good before you put it on the back burner for 6 months until you maybe have an updated video or updated key stats or information for underclassmen. But just trying to see if they're gauging your interest or they're taking a look at you or identifying you at all. For an upperclassman, very similar, that you're going to want to follow up with them, letting them know that you're going to call them, letting them know that, hey, I'm going to call you on this day at this time. Underclassmen can do that as well. Not all coaches are going to answer. Not all coaches can answer in those scenarios. But giving some action steps. If you're an upperclassman and they can respond, asking that coach questions, trying to get a better understanding of what they think of you as a prospect, where you're at in their recruiting class, where you're at in their rankings of this position for this class. Trying to make that conversation go to the next step so you can continue that conversation, continue trying to figure out whether or not this coach is interested, how interested are they, is this going to be a good fit, and trying to move that conversation forward to the next levels of that recruiting with them.
Yeah. So again, I think you want to be persistent without being annoying is the way that I would put it. Again, you want to show that initiative. So again, you're not emailing that coach every week and bombarding them and blowing them up. But if you have a big update, let's say you finished your high school season and you were all conference, or you set a record for your school or the state, whatever the case is, right? That's the kind of information that you can continue to update those coaches with. Or maybe you get your travel schedule for the summer and you send that out to the coach. So again, being strategic in when those messages come, and kind of the spacing, I think is an important piece of it as well. Kyle, something that we hear quite a bit is regarding especially the underclassmen, where parents or student athletes maybe don't feel that they're ready to be reaching out to college coaches. And it's something that we talk a lot about here on Facebook Live. College coaches know as an underclassman that you're not a finished product. So maybe that hesitation that some people have of, well, my kid's not fully grown yet, or they haven't reached their potential yet, or really peaked as an athlete. It's still important to take these steps. Again, coaches know as a freshman or sophomore, the information that you're sending isn't a finished product. They can evaluate and they can judge projectability on their end. So that hesitation that I think some families have early on to email coaches, maybe they overthink a little bit.
Yeah, the big fear for a lot of parents, we've heard this hundreds of times, is that if I reach out to this coach, or if this coach sees my student athlete now as a freshman or an eighth grader, they're just going to write them off their recruiting board entirely. They're just going to say, well, this is someone I'm not interested in. These coaches, and for the most part, they've been around the sport for decades. A lot of them have been playing and coaching since they were very young. They understand, like David said, that they're not looking at a finished product. But for them, they're trying to plan out their recruiting board for a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in some cases down the road, which means they have to start looking at student athletes at younger ages, freshmen. They have to start understanding where they're at right now and trying to get a better feel for what type of student athlete they're going to turn into. So for them, it's all about projectability. It's all about seeing what their mechanics look like, what type of player they are, how they act on the field. Is this someone who's going to grow into a bigger, stronger player with these same mechanics and be someone that I want to take very seriously? So for someone like me, I went into high school at 5'8" or so. By the end of my sophomore year, I was 6'4". I could have shown them good mechanics. I could have shown them that I have a lot of the right material that could be built into something better when I get bigger and stronger. So understanding that fear, but also knowing that they're not going to just write you off their recruiting board. They're going to take a look at a student athlete's skills, and that way they can keep track of your progress and growth through high school, which is the most important thing for them, because they want someone who's going to come into college and continue that growth and development for the next 4 years past that.
Yeah. So again, if you're a student athlete and you're starting to think about reaching out to college coaches, it's an important thing to do. Again, don't just sit back, wait, hope that coaches are going to find you, that a scholarship's going to fall out of the sky and into your lap. The more initiative that you can take in this process and reaching out to coaches, reaching out to the right coaches is important as well, and setting the right information. So I think, again, overall, you want to be as personal as possible. You want to make it as much about yourself and introducing yourself to college coaches, but also knowing a little bit about their program and having some interest in their program. Maybe you're commenting on, hey, coach, saw you guys had a huge win the other week and congratulations, or saw that you guys, broke the school record for wins in a season. So even with a school or that coach does something that's worth celebrating as well, again, take that initiative to reach out to those programs. But again, as a sophomore, as a freshman, if you can reach out to coaches early on and have 25, 30, 50 coaches knowing who you are by the time junior year hits and that personal contact can begin, that's where student athletes tend to see the most success in the process. So again, if you're a junior at this point, if you're a senior, it's fair game. Coaches at all levels can be reaching out to you. There can be that direct contact. So you can take that initiative, reach out to these programs if you haven't done so. If you're not hearing from any coaches, it probably means that you're not on their radars. And again, you've got to take some initiative. You've got to market yourself to put yourself in that position to be as best as possible. So we do have some questions coming in. So Kyle, let's get to a few of these here. The first one is from Kay. Kay wants to know, can you email college coaches while playing at a JuCo, so a junior college? So for junior college athletes, they're in school 1-2 years at a junior college, and then they're ultimately trying to transfer for a 4-year. How does that process work if I'm a junior college student athlete looking to eventually transfer to a 4-year? What limitations, if any, do I have when it comes to reaching out to college coaches?
Yeah, Kay, not only can you absolutely should be emailing college coaches. Basically, starting at a 2-year school, junior college or community college, you're starting your recruiting process over. Hopefully you're at a 2-year school where the coach is going to be able to help you out with your recruiting and help you develop more connections for 4-year schools. But it's not a guarantee. In most junior college, community college programs, they might have 25, 30, 35, 40, 50. I've seen some junior college rosters as large as 65, 70 players for a sport like baseball. So you can get lost in the shuffle just as easily. So as a junior college student athlete, absolutely. You can be and should be emailing college coaches with the same fervence as a high school student athlete trying to get recruited. Same thing. You can be calling those coaches. You can be proactive. You don't need to wait around for those coaches to come find you. You should be the one who's still continuing to drive that process to open up more opportunities at a 4-year school after a 2-year school, again, versus just waiting and hoping that things happen to go well at your 2-year school and hoping that opportunities happen to arise as a result.
Cool. Katrina's got a question here. Does my athlete have to be a certain age or grade before emailing college coaches? Katrina, no. That's the great part, again, about this process. In order of starting a profile in our network, you do have to be 13 years old as a student athlete to do that. So once you're 13, you can start a profile and be emailing college coaches in our network. But again, there's no restriction on when or how often a student athlete can email a college coach. So as an 8th grader, as a freshman in high school, I can start to already email college coaches. Again, the restrictions come in terms of when and how the college coaches can respond to the student athletes. So for NEI schools, junior colleges, and Division III schools, they have no restrictions, no limitations. It's free communication throughout the entire high school process. Again, D2 schools, June 15th, between sophomore and junior year is when the direct contact starts for all sports. So 6 days ago is when that happened for the 2024 class. The majority of Division I schools, it's going to be June 15th or September 1st between sophomore and junior year in terms of when coaches can reach back out. But again, as a student athlete, you can email those college coaches really at any point during high school. So great question. Question here from Johnson. Kyle Johnson actually found this answer on our NCSA website, which she said is very detailed and greatly appreciated. But Kyle, I'll throw this to you. Does the dead period, June 27th to July 24th, apply for reaching out to college coaches? So dead period, quiet period. Does it affect when student athletes can be reaching out to college coaches?
Really, really good question, Johnson. Another huge misconception when it comes to the recruiting process. The dead period and quiet periods really don't have anything to do with just communication with college coaches. So it doesn't really restrict them on being able to email and call you, assuming you're past those June 15th and September 1st contact dates. So between sophomore and junior year, once you're past that, it doesn't affect whether or not they can email you, call you. It doesn't affect whether you can email or call them. It really has more to do with in-person contact or in-person being able to come watch student athletes. Quiet period, if I'm not mistaken, has more to do with they can only watch you at their campus. Dead periods more they can't watch you in person at all, but it really doesn't have any sort of effect when it comes to emailing, calling, texting, having those types of conversations, communication. So Great question. A huge misconception when it comes to coach communication.
Cool. We got a question here from Marie. Marie wants to know, how many coaches should athletes limit themselves to so they are keeping their opportunities open while trying to get on a college coach's radar? I think, Kyle, we're going to be in agreement here. The wider that net is cast, the better off that is. But it really is, I think, going to depend individually on the needs or the wants of the student athlete, what they're looking for. But early on, if you don't know what your major is or you don't know where you want to go to school, there's no harm in casting that net really wide.
Yeah, I want to touch on that. This actually goes really well with something we were talking about earlier. Was listening to a conversation with some of our recruiting specialists earlier and about one of their student athletes, and they talked about not necessarily being interested in NAI Division III junior college programs, and they're an underclassman, but they can have they can have contact with those coaches because there's no restrictions on what type of contact they can have. So it's great experience, even if you're not necessarily 100% thinking about going to an NAI program. If you're able to set up a conversation with an NAIA coach as a freshman or a sophomore, it's a great win because teenagers, they're not great these days at having conversations with adults. They spend their time on Instagram, Twitter, whatever they're doing on their phones. So getting that experience early on, by the time you're having conversations as a junior or senior with schools, maybe if you're looking D1, now we're talking to these high-level programs with programs that you're really serious about, you're already an old pro. You've already gone through that experience. You already know what that's like because you had conversations earlier on in your high school career. So even if you're not interested in NAI, Division III, embrace those opportunities to practice communication with college coaches because it's not as easy as one would think it is going into it.
Well, I think another point in this day and age with college coaches is that you see so many college coaches switching, schools. We just talked about Kyle's sister moving from a D2 to a D1 program, which is an awesome opportunity for her. But that's the day and age. So you may reach out to a school, to a college program as a freshman or sophomore, and that coach may be at their third different job by the time you're getting into college. So it's not just about reaching out to the school. It's about building connections and relationships with these college coaches, knowing they bounce around. They may be at a different school in 2 years that you'd love to go to, but because you didn't reach out to them or you didn't maybe connect with them when they were at a school that was maybe more reasonable, it may affect some positions as well. So again, keep that cast that net as wide as you can. Don't just pigeon yourself to Division I. Keep those options open because again, there's a lot of great opportunities out there too. Last question comes from one of our YouTube viewers. Had a D1 assistant coach text me first to give me his name and say hi. I responded to say hi and that I'm interested. No response since saying hi. How should I respond back again? Kyle, I'm going to read that one to you again and let you answer it. So D1 assistant texted a student athlete, said hi. Student athlete responded back and saying hi and that he's interested. And then no response since that hi. We talked about kind of the perseverance without being annoying. What's the next step here for the student athlete?
Well, first off, are we sure this is a college coach conversation and not a David Kamisic dating app conversation that we're having here that we're talking about? But yeah, no, it's well worth following up, asking that coach a question, kind of trying to reopen that conversation or seeing, hey, coach, is there a time where we can talk more about your school or talk more about your guys' interest level or talk more about the program? I'd love to learn more about where you guys are at or learn more about the school in general or learn more about you as a coach. Questions are always going to be good. And open-ended questions even better. So starting with something simple about, just with a question about, hey, it was great meeting you, coach. I appreciate the contact. Was there time we can chat a little bit more? I think it's a great way to go. Or maybe asking, hey, have you gotten a chance to watch my skills or highlight video? Have you gotten a chance to can you give me some feedback on where you think I'm doing well, what I need to improve? There's really no limit to what you can do. They may not even respond to that, but at least you're trying to keep the conversation alive and moving forward versus just, again, hoping that coach happens to follow up with you because you have nothing to lose by reaching back out to them again. It'll just give you more experience in trying to connect with more coaches. And from there, use that to leverage more opportunities. Let other coaches, when you're talking to them, know, yeah, I've gotten interest from other coaches as well. It's great leverage, just showing that you have more interest from as many coaches as possible.
Lots of great points in there, especially the first one you made. So let's wrap up by diving into some of our commitments. As we do every Tuesday, we like to recognize some of the student athletes that utilize the NCSA network and found a great home for themselves at the college level. So Kyle, we'll start off with you on the pitch.
Fantastic. Yeah, our first commitment today is Annika Klaus. She's headed to Ball State University. Looks like Annika, she had a connection between one of our recruiting coaches, Pete Kowal, who's working with her. Gone through some adversity, had some injuries, had a full dislocation. I believe either in May, it looks like May of last year, made a full recovery. Did some good work through her NCSA profile, had 128 views from coaches, 95 different follows from college coaches, and ended up going to Division I program, Ball State University. So someone who was a very high level athlete, 5-star recruit, had a lot of video on her profile, was able to get a lot of interest and really utilized her membership, her profile to the best of her ability to leverage to a great opportunity at Ball State. So congrats to you, Annika. I think we're sticking with me for commit number 2 with Shayton Sagendorf. So Shayton, student athlete who's going to a community college, kind of like we talked about. So someone that we're hopefully going to be able to help in the second leg of his recruiting process as well, moving from a 2-year school onto a 4-year school. Had 15 different schools, coaches open up emails that he'd sent to them, 26 views. Again, someone that is still in the development process, still working to grow and get better and become better players to be able to use these next 2 years at SUNY Hudson Valley Community College to grow and develop and get better, and use our services, use our recruiting coaches, use our help to parlay that into a 4-year school opportunity from there. So congrats to you, Shayton, and we'll look forward to continuing to help you moving forward from here.
Cool. Last up, softball diamond, Hannah Johnson. Hannah's out of Clarksville, Tennessee, 2022. So just finished high school probably a few weeks ago. And quick turnaround here is she'll be playing college softball at St. Andrews University, at NAIA program in North Carolina, St. Andrews the Knights, which makes sense. So got signed up with us late in her sophomore year, and found a great fit for her. And again, great NAIA program that is going to give her an opportunity to continue playing softball, and most importantly, get a great education there as well. So congratulations to all 3 of those commits. Congratulations to all the commits in our network and throughout the country and the world. I know it's been a busy past few weeks here with graduations and finishing up all the fun stuff before getting off to college for the 2022 class, and for the 2023s, they're hitting their senior year and that stretch run. So hopefully parents are feeling in a good place about recruiting Kyle, but if they're not, they can reach out to us and we can help them get figured out on what they need to do to get the ball up and rolling here.
That graduation is going to hit you in the face quicker than you think. That those signing dates are going to hit you in the face quicker than you think. It all goes by very fast when it's all said and done. Seems slow in the moment. Days go by slow, weeks go by slow, the years go by super quick. So be prepared. Get yourself in a good spot.
Very philosophical of you, Kyle. So again, if you have any questions regarding your student athlete, specifically with where they're at in the recruiting process, or are looking to kind of get the ball rolling here on reaching out to college coaches, reach out to us, drop us a note on Facebook here. We'll certainly reach out to you and provide any help that we can to make sure you guys are pointing in the right direction here. But Kyle Winters, as always, appreciate the great wealth of knowledge and ribs that you send our way here. So have a great rest of your week, everyone, and we'll see you back here next Tuesday. Take care.